Welcome to Chirosphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things, well, not so chiropractic. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host for Chirosphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. Chirosphere listeners, today's episode is a special one. We're joined by a true legend in the chiropractic profession, Dr. Stu Hoffman. He is the founder of ChiroSecure and someone who has spent decades not just protecting chiropractors, but advocating for them, educating them, and standing in their corner. But here's what makes this conversation even better. Dr. Hoffman isn't just a leader in the profession, he's a family man working alongside his sons, part of a chiropractic legacy with his brother, and a fun fact, an avid music lover who's probably been to more concerts than most of us combined. So today we're diving into the story behind ChiroSecure, the evolution of risk in chiropractic, the future of the profession, and maybe even a few concert stories along the way. Welcome to Chirosphere, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me on. And yes, you noted a couple of good details, and I'll look forward to diving wherever we wind up going.
You bet. It'll be a fun trip no matter where we go.
Yeah,
So, chiropractic is truly a family affair for you. Your brother's a chiropractor, and now your sons are part of ChiroSecure. So,
I
what does
have
it
two
mean?
brothers, Ray.
Two
Th-
brothers.
They're
Okay.
both
Well,
chiropractors.
I'll have to get with my researchers and get that
Yeah, you
get
know
that
Bob, but I also have an older brother, Steve, too.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, what has it meant to you to build both help build a profession through your family and also a legacy alongside your family in ChiroSecure? It's like y'all are all in on chiropractic.
Yeah, well, that is for sure. So it goes back in time. My great grandmother, as a matter of fact, in the Bronx, New York. She went to Willie Weisberg, the chiropractor. I have to think it was probably the 1940s. And the stories were people lined up around the block to get into Willie to get their adjustment. And my great grandmother actually lived to the oldest age of anyone in the family the time she passed. And so, never thought about that in your younger years, but in looking backward, it's a lot easier to connect the dots. And because of her, probably, my parents were very welcoming and going to chiropractors, and uh, there were some experiences that happened along the way. But chiropractic was something that actually saved my life at one point in time. And because of that, I knew I had to be a chiropractor, but not just be a chiropractor in the sense of leaning over a table like so many do every day. I did that for quite some time, but to create influence wherever I can. And, ChiroSecure itself, we have a mission and it has nothing to do with malpractice insurance. Our mission at ChiroSecure is to change the public perception of chiropractic. I have no problem selling insurance policies because people that know us trust us, and we do a great job. I have a great team, but it's really, for me, why am I here and why am I doing what I do? And I've raised my children to have that same mindset that you do things with a purpose. And they've grown up being a chiropractic family. And it became natural. I'm sure if I stayed in active practice, I'd have one, two, or three chiropractic kids. But that's not the way it went. And I wound up, as they were growing up, more in business than in a chiropractic office setting. So it sort of was natural that they showed up here. They are incredible. I just was done texting somebody that one of my sons was in a meeting last Friday, and I said, "Yeah, how was it?" They said, "Oh, it was great. He brought in a whole different perspective, this and that." And I said, "Yeah, he's not only smarter than me, but he's also nicer." And so it goes a long way. You get to, as you said, leave your legacy in many different ways, but mine is and always has been to watch my children grow up to be better at what they do than I've ever been at what I do. And I feel very fortunate that I get to work with them and get to watch them in that way too.
Yeah,
They're not young kids anymore.
I know, but they'll always be our kids. I
That's for
don't care how
sure.
old they get. No,
Yeah,
no doubt. Something you said really speaks to me. You talk about your mission. Um, I think we're driven by some of the same things too. My mom and dad were both chiropractors, and I've got all the chiropractic stories. They wouldn't let them in the country club. They couldn't join the Rotary Club. I mean, we're
sure.
talking 66, 67. They didn't even license chiropractic in Mississippi till like 73, and so they practiced for years without a license, and so I saw the professional discrimination and biases on full display, growing up in Yazoo City, Mississippi, and um, it hurt my heart, man, to see my parents go
Go
through
through
some of
that.
the things that they did, and when I finally decided to become a chiropractor, I mean, one of my primary goals was I don't want any chiropractor who has dedicated their life to helping other people to experience that kind of discrimination. And it kind of became my goal. I'm going to leave this profession better than I found it. I'm going to do
Exactly.
what I can to, and our mission at Chiro Health is pretty simple. We want to improve the quality of lives of our doctors, their patients, their team, and our team. And yeah, we happen to sell a membership card, but that's not our why. That's our
Exactly.
what we do.
Mhm.
Um,
It's a vehicle.
it completely changes things. And I may have shared this before on the podcast, but I have found that when there have been things that came along that look like, ooh, I think we could really generate a lot of revenue from that. When I've pursued those because of the dollar, I have paid stupid tax over and over again because my motive wasn't the same.
Right.
That motive was to pursue dollars and cents, which is not a bad thing. I'm an unapologetic capitalist, but the reality is if it's not your why, it just doesn't seem to work out as well, um, compared to things that are truly feeding your passion, feeding your mission, and giving people a rally point. So I love hearing that about you. I mean, I know that about you. I hope other people are hearing the similarities. And we got a lot of great business owners in this profession that just step up day in and day out. You guys are certainly one of the major players in that, and so it's appreciated from a fellow warrior.
Yes. And we've been road warriors as well for many, many years.
Yeah,
Yes.
it has been a minute. Yeah, it's hard to believe we've been doing this 18 years. It's just
Well, Ray,
bizarre.
for me, this is August will be our 35th anniversary.
Wow,
Uh, and, now the parent company, which is Allied Professionals Insurance, which I am, one of the principals of, our 40th anniversary. So
congratulations.
it's a long time coming.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah. We've
So
seen
you
a
found
lot.
huh?
We've seen a lot.
Yes, we have. We know where some of the bodies are buried too, right?
Yes, yeah, too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you founded ChiroSecure in 91. What was the problem you saw at that time that others weren't addressing, and how did that shape the company you built?
Well, it was an interesting start because uh, Dr. Jim Gregg up in Michigan, which is where I was practicing at the time, uh, he was becoming the new president of the ICA. And at one time, the ICA had a malpractice insurance program, but it had been long gone. And he said, one of the things I really want is a malpractice program. And I said to him, that's great, except I want to be the convention chairman. And he said, well, you can be convention chairman if you get me the malpractice program. And it all started because I was the convention chair in Michigan, and we were with a lot of us were with um, a, an insurance policy that offered risk management discount if you took their course. And we did that, and I would arrange for the course and all of that. But there was a dispute within the organization way back then. I know that's a shocker. And the people that were teaching that course were kicked out of the organization. So it was my job to get on the telephone long distance because things were different back then, communication, and get to the people in charge of the insurance company and say, hey, we need an exception made. We're putting on a risk management program and you're going to approve it. And to this day, it was the only program they ever approved outside of their own. But we did it. And that's when Jim came to me and said, I want you to help me put this together. So I didn't know what to do first. And I made one phone call here, which led me to there, to there, to there, and wound up getting with a company that was willing to write, not just write a policy for us, but write the type of policy we wanted. And I put a committee together, which was myself, Jerry Clum at the time, my brother Bob, Jerry Mattia out in New Jersey, Bobby Braille. I think that was the core of it. And it was really for the ICA at first. And that was, uh, it worked out great, but it was very limiting and eventually needed someone to take it over, make it into a business, which is what I did. And, it was when someone said to me, you know, you have these offices because I had a number of offices at one time, and you have all these things going on, similar to what you were talking about, getting off purpose. And uh, the only thing you can really control is what you're touching directly. Why don't you put more focus into this? Because the doctors are really your patients. And once I had that attitude and that understanding, that's how I treated it. And I do to this day. Sometimes I don't take many phone calls anymore, but sometimes someone will call up. They could have been with me for 25 or 30 years. I'm not going to refuse their phone call.
No,
And,
absolutely not.
it could be something very simple, it could be much more complex. Uh, but, at one time, I knew every single person that was with us. And, we're way over 25,000 doctors at this point in time. Hard to know any of that. Truthfully, my sons know a lot more of the people. We go to some conventions and people are coming up to them. Hey, thank God you helped me through this and that. And I'm standing there like, what the hell happened to me? But there you go with that legacy thing again. But that's how it really got started because it was really originally for the ICA itself. And when it started taking off, there were a number of people around the profession I'm telling you, just literally trusted me. And hopefully, I've never let any one of them down in keeping my word and doing what I promised to do. That they referred a whole lot of people to me, and they were what today's world would call influencers. And I've been blessed many times over.
And here you are 35, 40 years later and
Yep,
still kicking it. That's awesome.
yep,
So I can't imagine how many claims that you guys have been involved in over the years. Um, but of all the claims that you see, what are the most common risks that docs are facing on a daily basis that maybe they're not aware of?
yeah. The doctors in the field, rightfully so, assume, nothing's gonna ever happen to me. This is chiropractic. Well, that's great theory, but we have the documentation to say otherwise. And the most common thing that we really get are board complaints, which we wind up defending for the doctors. And it could be from putting out an ad and not having chiropractor or DC the way you're supposed to, state by state. It could be from a finance dispute with a patient because they quit, you didn't refund their money. Or you wanted to take out a bookkeeping fee and you're not allowed to in your state, or things of that nature. It could be serious complaints. It could be complaints They could have been intoxicated. They could have been um, inappropriate. There's many, many things, but that is the number one thing we deal with on a day to day basis. In terms of alleged injuries, broken ribs are the most common. And, when I first started, if it was a $3,000 hit, you know, that was it. Because what can you do with a broken rib? It's something you're not going to set it. It needs to heal up. It's going to hurt for 4 to 6 weeks. And hopefully you said your apology. Hopefully they accepted it and you move on. Um, we have a whole different mechanism I teach in how to go about addressing things like that in today's world. But now that's a good $50,000 hit, not a 3,000. We had someone sue for $150,000 for a broken rib. It's just crazy. Doesn't mean they'll get it, but that's a starting point.
So they must have called Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan.
You know, that is one of the challenges is because it is so easy and so common. But the only claim we really are concerned with, and the reason I started lecturing again maybe 10 or 15 years ago, is the stroke claim.
Yeah.
And I believe it's something that was politically put on us through connections, through PR, publications, and everything else. There is not one piece of research that has documented a cause relationship there. We're certainly involved because people are on an adjusting table and manifest the symptoms of a stroke. You can't get away from that aspect. But the fact of the matter is that there is nothing to prove that there is a causal relationship. And we even now have the defense utilizing certain imaging that can age the blood around the vessel to know if it predated the adjustment.
That's
Now,
awesome.
if someone's coming in on a regular basis, that may not make the difference, but it has literally saved a ton of our doctors. But for the most part, the profession is a safe profession. There's certain pockets that are higher risk than others. And that's much more in depth than today will deliver. But overall, we've had really good experience for our doctors. Uh, I like to fight. I don't know if you ever noticed that about me, Ray, in terms of personality, but I don't like to be accused of something and take it. And one of the lead attorneys that we have that's done research on strokes and chiropractic for well over 15 years. He's our national counsel. He teams up with the local attorney that's going to actually defend the doctor. And I once had him on a show like this a long time ago with a panel. And he started out by saying, I am passionate about not letting a doctor of chiropractic be accused of something they could not have possibly caused. I can't get chiropractors to be as passionate as he was as an attorney because once he did the research and saw that this is not a possibility, he wanted to go to the mountaintop for us. And he has. And, you know, when we go to court, he generally
That's
wins.
a great guy to have in your corner, no doubt.
Great
You
guy.
know,
And he's a great guy, period. So,
I've had a couple of friends over the years that have been involved in malpractice claims. Fortunately, none of them were stroke. But the thing that surprised me about it is this particular doctor I'm thinking of, who shall remain nameless, was probably the most outgoing, upbeat guy you would ever meet.
mhm,
Ended up in this lawsuit, and it completely changed him.
sure.
And I don't think people think about or are familiar with the emotional cost. I mean, certainly there's the financial cost of a lawsuit, but the emotional cost
Right.
is unbelievable because this guy basically retracted. He went from I take care of my patients to I've got to be watchful of the next patient so they don't sue me. That's
100%.
not a good place to come from.
No,
A-
no,
And
they become, in survival mode rather than service mode. They're defensive, and, early on, I realized exactly what you're talking about, and when a doctor calls me up because they have an incident, maybe it's not even a claim yet, but I tell them, "You're gonna have to deal with attorneys, you're gonna have to do this, this, and this," set the expectation. I said, "But other than the first call, schedule it outside of patient hours because it's going to mess you up, your head. And before you ever, even after this call, before you go back into the room and see your next patient, you need to take a minute. You need to start breathing. I mean, people think it's hokey, but you need to start breathing and focusing. And when you go back into that room, I tell them, I want you to give that next patient and every patient after that 1%, because that's at least real for people, 1% more attention, not changing what you do or anything else, but just focus your communication with them, your attitude, your relationship with them. Because the truth is, people that like you generally won't sue you. It can happen. It happens more today than it did 35 years ago. But if you're focused and in that relationship, less things really do go wrong. And people, I think, really appreciate that because it's all too real what your friend experienced. And it's terrible because that sets them up for future problems because when you're defensive, things don't always go well.
no,
And it definitely doesn't go well for your purpose of being there and taking care of that patient.
something you mentioned earlier, I want to touch on a little bit more. You mentioned that a lot of the complaints that you get may be from board complaints,
Sure.
and of course, the world I live in, the financial side of the
Hmm.
practice, where a lot of doctors get in trouble. And I've told the story before. I spent 13 hours in a Mississippi State Board of Chiropractic Examiners meeting with a doctor who had been before the board several times, but he'd love to do prepay plans, and that's great. Knock yourself out. He had hired all the right attorneys, had the contract perfect. Bottom line is, a lady, just like you said, dropped out of care. All she asked was a refund. He blew her off. Didn't bother to return her call. So he really ticked her off, and he ticked off the wrong little lady
Yes.
because she took him to the board. And this is what happens, docs, when the legal system gets a foot inside your practice. So here he is, he's defending his contract, and the lawyer said, yeah, the contract's perfectly tight. But because he didn't engage with her, she sued him, anyway, took him before the board. And during the course of that, here's the kicker. This lady came in primarily because he was offering a weight loss program.
Hmm.
On her intake form, there was never anything indicated about neck pain, back pain, any musculoskeletal stuff.
And he's
Well, as
adjusting
a
her.
good chiropractor, we can find a subluxation, we can find joint dysfunction. That's what we do. And so he did his exam and all, and he started treating her. Blue Cross Blue Shield was in the room. I think Aetna was in the room, and maybe somebody from Medicare, because what ended up happening was when they saw that this lady had no chief complaint that was covered by the Blue Cross policy, yet he's billing for treatment of a complaint she didn't have. Holy cow. It's now, we want 10 files. We want all of your
Right.
files. And it's all because of dollars and cents. And so, my advice to docs is when you get in that kind of situation and patient demands a refund, if you can make a problem go away for a few $100, you make that deal every day. That doesn't mean I want people running over the doctors and not paying them and skipping out on the bill, but there's no good outcome from that if you tangle with a patient over it. So we had a preacher years ago. He says, "Guys, you can be right or you can be happy. You can't always be both. So choose,
Yes.
choose wisely." The
So
the other
here's an example of that, Ray. When uh, sometimes, as I said, the doctors will call And one time I made the lethal mistake of forgetting to ask, how much are you talking about that this patient wants back? Instead, I spent 20 minutes debating with him, which made no sense uh, because he was right. Exactly what you're talking about. After 20 minutes, I finally said, man, I forgot to ask you, how much is she asking for? $30. I said, you mean you just wasted 20 minutes of my time on $30? But on the other side of it, I had somebody that the patient wanted $4,000. Why did she want it? Because all of her uh, problems started with him. And she went to all these other doctors, a whole mess. I said, have her produce all of her doctor records from the day she stopped seeing you forward, and let's review them together. It was like hundreds of friggin' pages and all in a PDF. The guy never even bothered to look. I read the whole thing. It turned out all of her complaints, all of her doctor visits were stemming from she had a previous cancer issue and follow checkups and this and that. The low back pain that she went to him for was listed once in all of those pages, just as, yes, still gets periodic low back pain. That was it anywhere. So I said to him, do not give her a dime. Let her know exactly what you found, nothing, nothing related, etc. He said, "Well, I'm worried she'll sue me. I'm going to give her the money." Again, why'd you call me?
Oh my
you know,
God.
but there are times to say no, but in general, and part of it is how much is it, you know? But it's much better to get it put aside than it is to just fight with somebody.
Yeah, no,
So
no doubt.
you're right on.
And again, even in that, the emotional cost you got to
It's heavy.
factor in. I mean, it's just not worth it. That's like in our company. We have patients who will join our network, and 8 months later, after they've already received the benefit of the discount at the
Right.
doctor's office, they want their $49 back. And
Here you go.
and there's a whole way we can do that. We can amortize it over how. But geez, man, just stroke a check for 49 bucks and make it go away.
Right.
It is just not worth it. The
And find another business to work with in the future. That's
Yeah,
all, because it's not gonna
absolutely.
be us.
No.
Mm. Yeah.
So, with you having so many years at this, what would you say have been some of the major changes in the malpractice claims, say over the last decade? What trends are you seeing?
Yeah. It's certainly the billboards, the TV commercials, all about strokes. You know, when we started, if you had one a year, it was, a lot. Now, if we had one a week, that's probably what an average is at this point. And we have to defend those. Even if you win, it's still costly. So that has been the biggest trend uh, change that we've seen in the malpractice world. But on the other side of it, we educate a lot more people than we used to. And I think people are much more aware of what they're doing. And I was speaking to somebody just yesterday morning about a pediatric practice. And, I said, well, I have three grandkids. They're very little. I know how to check them. I adjust them when they need to be adjusted, and then I leave them alone. Well, but what if in utero there was this, that, and the other thing? Stuff I don't even understand at this point in life. And I think it's great that there are people out there that want to teach and make people more aware of a full menu of understanding when it comes to a pediatric patient. But that isn't necessarily, me at this point in life, but it is going to be for some people. And I think that the more we teach the doctors on all levels, whether it be about risk managing or children or anything that we do, I think the better off the profession is at large.
No doubt. It's been interesting for me to see some of the choices that doctors make when they're becoming part of our network. For those that don't know, it's basically a membership that patients join that allow them to get a better fee or a lower fee compared to what your actual fees are. And we also have a family plan as part of that, where mom pays this much, dad may pay this much, and it gets down to the kids. And we had a doctor who clearly loves taking care of people, and he wanted on his fee schedule to charge $1 per child.
Hmm.
And I'm going like, no,
Right.
you need to think about this. Is it good for the child? Yeah. Is it good for the family? Yes. But if anybody hurts my child, I am coming after them. So just from a risk perspective, you're taking the highest risk patient that potentially could end up
For
with a
sure.
lawsuit situation, and you're charging the least amount. That math doesn't work. Not to mention of what it does of the perception of the value of our
Devaluing what we do.
that's a whole I mean, it
Yeah.
and it is and again, comes from a good place, but that's not that's not something we should be doing. We need
No.
to value our services, get paid well for them, and you know,
And Ray, that's the reason that Chiro Health USA is the only way I would practice today and the only thing I would recommend to others regardless. Because there are proper ways of doing things. I remember when you were first getting started, I said, send me this information because I need an attorney to look at it and all of that. And you did. You were very gracious, and everything was I's dotted, T's crossed, and I always respected that and still do. And no wonder it's become so well received, and all the accolades are well deserved
well,
for you.
I appreciate that, but Stu, just like you, we're challenged with a task early
Yes,
on with the malpractice thing. For those that don't know, the reason that I started this was because I got reported to my state attorney general for
we
charging more
learn.
to a cash patient to an insured, or charging
Yes.
less to a cash than an insured patient, and got reported to the board. I mean, it just was, and it's like this is not. There's nothing right about that.
Mhm.
And so hopefully we've solved that problem for a lot of docs, and I appreciate the I appreciate the plugs too
Well, you know me well enough. I don't say it if I don't mean it. So,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So hang tight, everyone, while we take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Welcome back to our podcast with Dr. Stu Hoffman. Really enjoying the conversation, Stu. I hope others are as well.
me
So
too.
you've been a strong supporter of organizations like the Chiropractic Defense Council, the Chiropractic Future Strategic Plan, and the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress. So, what drives your commitment to supporting the profession at that level? Because everybody doesn't. Wish they did,
Yeah.
but they don't.
Well, it goes back to purpose. I want to make a difference. And at this season of my life, uh, it's not about the business I'm well taken care of. It's about being able to have a positive influence for the profession. I do it partially with colleges. I'm a graduate of Life University. I love that institution. It goes through phases like every other institution, but I'm a major supporter both physically and financially. And that's where it all starts to me. The other organizations, if I believe that they have a vehicle to move the profession forward, I'm going to be there, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to support. Uh, the newest opportunity we have is through the Maha people. And, that relates to some of the organizations you listed. And I'm right in there with them as well. It's important that we participate. These opportunities don't always just show up. And when we have it as a profession, whether it be, Chiropractic Future or any of the others, uh, we need to be there and support. Sid Williams was the founder of Life University, and he drilled into me, never forget where you come from. And I don't. I never take it for granted. My life has been blessed because of a decision I made to become a chiropractor. And it's my turn to give back. And I think that we all should be giving back. It doesn't have to be me against you. It could be whatever we can afford. It's not just money, it's talent. It can be any which way. But all of these organizations function off of financial contribution. And it's my belief that it's our responsibility to support them because everyone will win off of those efforts.
Yeah. So I've often painted it as it's not an option, it's an obligation to give back. That's how I feel about it. Let me ask you this. You've been around a lot of chiropractors over the years like I have. Um, and for those of us that are involved at multiple levels and multiple organizations, it does just seem like a natural thing to give. But, if we're talking about the elephant in the room, I'm sound like a broken record when I say this, but we've got so I think about 75% of the profession is not a member of ACA, ICA, and around 50% is not members of state organizations yet. Those are the very organizations that solve our problems, that represent
Hmm.
us before Congress, that represent us before the legislators. What would you say is the primary reason that so many are just sitting out the game? And how can we reach them and stress the importance of, if you don't like where your profession is, look in the mirror.
Yeah,
What are you giving? What can we do? Because that continues. If I could solve that problem, man, I would be a happy fella.
we all would. We certainly have an abundance of apathy, but the real question is why? Times are different. When I went to school, it was just different than it is today. The people that were in school, they were all, exceptions around them, generalizing, but we had such a great group that all wanted to do things differently, but all wanted to move forward the same. And I think once you get out of school, you're behind four walls and you're trying to pay your bills for a long period of time, and you're stuck in that survival mode long enough that if you get out of it, by the time you get out of it, you forget that give back and what got you out of that survival in the first place. So I think information is critical. And I think reminding people of why what we do is as important as it is on a constant basis is really key. And, I mentioned the organizations and MAHA and all of that. Well, people are already coming up and saying, well, I haven't heard them do anything. Well, there's a lot that's going on right now. Pay attention, but it's a reminder that no matter how much you put out, you're not putting out enough in enough places for people to really lock themselves into and find their own hope in a way, for their own practice, for maybe their kids, uh, and everyone that they're associated with. I think we all need more hope. And if we don't have the information and the awareness of what's going on our behalf, then lends itself to allow for that apathy.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it is a bit frustrating. I know all the work that has gone into the strategic plan, the hundred or
Sure, you
thousand
would.
hours of
Yeah,
volunteer time, and some of the brightest minds in the profession are working on that project. And it really is to improve access to chiropractic care, eliminate the artificial barriers like, pre-search, pre-authorization, all the things that bog down the flow of patient care, and to get parity in our reimbursements. Those are everything kind of, while there are certainly five pillars, everything ultimately that will be the end result is we do get Medicare modernization done. We do get parity in our reimbursements where we're not being paid 50% of what the PTs are for doing the same service or the MDs. And so, docs, if you don't, and yeah, our challenge is marketing and getting people to read it. And,
Yeah,
that's just something we got to do a better job at.
all of
So,
us.
if you could influence the direction of our profession, say over the next 5 years, what changes would you hope to see?
Well, first and foremost, you just hit on a few of them, and it's things that I hope we can come back a year from now and say, holy cow, after all of these years, we just got this, this, and this. Not everything, because that's not realistic. But if we could get Medicare to start paying chiropractors the way they pay all other healthcare professionals, that will uh, drip down to others, and we get insurance parity. We in most states we already have it. It's just not something that they acknowledge or practice. But if it gets implemented appropriately, then the doctors will make a really good living from what they're doing. And if doctors are making a good living, it'll allow for more students to come into our schools and hopefully learn their purpose, the principles of chiropractic, and be able to come out confident that they can earn a really good living by taking care of people and making lives better. We've started going into a corporate world in terms of the profession, people coming out and going into these real large groups. And it seems like it was a natural progression. And it is the present. It may be the future, but we still need doctors that are dedicated to why we do what we do. And I think that uh, financial piece of it will go a long way to get us there.
Yep, no doubt about it. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. So I mentioned earlier you're an avid music lover and concert
You
goer.
did. Okay.
Yeah. So what kind of music do you gravitate toward?
Well, I don't like to start off by telling people this, but Bob Dylan is number one, two, three, four, and five. I've seen him 100 times, maybe live over all of the years. I've got a lot of stories, but I love him. But I also gravitate to people like Eric Clapton. I go back to there's Burton Cummings. He was part of a group called the Guess Who, and the Guess Who were two Canadian kids that grew up and started playing music together. It was him and Randy Bachman, and Randy Bachman left and went on with his brother to
Oh,
start Bachman Turner Overdrive. So you have all of those types of situations. uh, I like the early '70s type music that came out of San Francisco, which was, like the Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, which split off into Jefferson Starship, but also the part a lot of people aren't familiar with is Hot Tuna, which is the lead guitarist Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy, and they're still out there just playing music
yeah.
because they sit down, play, and have a good time. And how can you not like that? But you always get a good show out of people like Paul McCartney, and uh, unfortunately, you're not going to get one out of Billy Joel right now. But I've been fortunate enough to have seen him many times, including when his first album hit the charts, seeing him in the first row at Carnegie Hall. Uh, those are the types of things I like. I like jazz. I like all country, all kinds of music, but my go-to is all of those, classic,
Yeah.
rock people.
Yeah. And we had some great ones, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and what's fun is they're still around. My wife and I
yeah,
went to see the Eagles at the Sphere when we were in Vegas.
unbelievable show.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
It is. It was literally I can't believe how well those guys still play. You know, some people, they get older in age. I remember seeing, Percy Sledge at a
Yep.
casino 20 years ago, and the poor guy, somebody just needs to tell him he's done, you know, and then they prop him up.
Exactly.
You know, I'm sure he's still trying to pay the bills. Man, these guys were just unbelievable. I mean, Joe Walsh, going back
He's
to the James game,
incredible.
and just killing it.
Yeah.
The surprise for me at that show was Vince Gill.
Oh,
I
he
mean,
took
that
over
beautiful voice, but you know, I've always seen him
as a
play.
musician.
I
Yeah.
had no idea he could play a guitar like he did with Joe Walsh. They did a couple of, duets together, and it's like, where did that come from? Had no idea he had that side of him, but it was, uh, excellent
Yeah,
concert.
what a great show and what a great atmosphere in there. One of those people that we lost last week was Dave Mason. Dave Mason at 17 got together with Steve Winwood, who became a bigger name probably, but they created the group Traffic. And obviously they didn't last that long and split, but I was always attracted to Dave Mason, and every time he came to town, we were there. His wife was always at the merchandise and always got to talk to her. These become real people at some point.
Sure.
And that's part of the experience is getting the human side of the legend.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
all.
kind of nice.
So I've
So,
got some just for fun questions to wrap this up.
okay.
Who's your hero and why?
That's a good question because I have a lot of heroes. Uh, I would say my mother was my biggest hero for many many reasons, but as an adult, Jerry Clum was my number one hero.
Miss it.
Uh, that guy, when I first came to life to visit my brother Steve, he sat me down and gave me a "what's what" conversation, and he adjusted me. I went inside, fell asleep. I mean, it was one of those things. But I maintained a very close friendship with him till the day that he passed. And not many people on earth smarter than that guy. He always knew the right thing politically, personally. He just, I can go on, but he would be number one of anybody. And I I part of why I feel so blessed, it's not about money. It's about all of the people that
Amen.
I've had influence me, which is why that's so uh, on my mind about being able to do that elsewhere for others.
Yeah, you know, I've often told people that one of the joys of having this company is, um, I have gotten to meet so many people that I never ever would have that have come
Right.
in my life, and it just great people everywhere. You know, there's a few jerks here and there, but
Sure.
that's going to happen everywhere. But I mean, man, just the relationships that have evolved out of this, and being out there on the road, with colleagues who are basically all doing the same thing. Just like I said, trying to leave it
Right.
better than we found it has
That's it.
been most rewarding. So,
Yeah.
what talent do you have that most people don't know about?
Well, I'm not a very talented guy. I'm a perseverance kind of guy. So if I want to get something done, I'm going to make it happen, whether it be on a personal level or a business level. And I'd say more than talent is w- things of interest. I love cars, but I'm not a collector where I like, you know, collectible cars. I like newer cars. I like technology. I like fast,
Mm,
and I don't like to keep them very long. I like to get
experience.
them and have that. Once that feeling starts to wear down, I'm done, and then I move on. So really, for me, life. is more about, it's not so much about me and my talents or anything else. It comes down to family. My 3 boys, they're, uh, the people they're with, the little ones. Uh, we actually get together pretty much every week, at least once, as a family for dinner, every holiday, every birthday. Uh, you can't ask for more than that. And the
No, you,
fact that they all get together, they can work with each other. Um, that's where I get my gratification in life.
yeah, that's what makes a papa proud.
That I'm always proud,
Yeah.
for sure.
So what's the worst job you ever had?
Well, when I was probably 15 or 16, I worked, growing up in New York City, there was a dry cleaning store on every corner, and I needed a job. So someone said, "Hey, they're hiring." So I went in there, and it's summertime, and you're in the back with all of the steam and the heat, and I'm putting plastic bags by hand over clothes. I did not last. That was not going to, I knew what I wasn't going to be doing in life,
And that's
and
important.
that was it. I did what I did. I didn't leave the guy hanging, but made it known that this is not gonna be a place I'll be at long.
So just one more. What's the one artist that's still on your bucket list?
To go see, I hate to tell you, Ray,
You've seen them.
I don't have one on my bucket list that I haven't already seen
Well, good for
that
you.
mean enough to me to go see.
That's awesome.
I never saw people like Michael Jackson, wish I had, uh, but in the current times and who's around,
Seen them.
I still go quite a bit. Guess
Yeah,
who's coming? There's Bob Dylan's coming.
there you
Believe
go.
it or not, it's more nostalgia, but I still go. Uh, I just went. Who did I go see? Uh, I forget who it even was, but I just went to a concert a few weeks back in a smaller venue. I just like to go and listen. Get that. It's related to what we do as chiropractors. We work off of vibration. And when you're in a crowd that, music itself is vibration, and then you're in a crowd that's all enjoying that and ramped up about that musician or the music itself or whatever, you're part of all of that and it uplifts. And that I find magnificent.
Yeah,
You know?
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap this up. Doctors, if you're offering discounts, make sure you're not violating state or federal rules on dual fee schedules, inducements, or anti kickback laws. The fines are serious. Our profitable discount strategy keeps your discounts fully compliant and profitable. It starts with a free, no obligation call to see if we can help, just like we've helped thousands of doctors nationwide. Many of our docs have seen a 20% increase in revenue and a 50% patient retention within our network. For 18 years, over 7,000 chiropractors have helped 4.3 million patient family members get affordable care through ChiroHealth USA. If you want more revenue, better retention, and peace of mind, call 888-719-9990 or visit CHUSA.com to see why ChiroHealth USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Make it a great day, everyone. Great to spend some time with you, Stu.
Thank you.